And there goes the Encinitas conch shell. And we will start the recording. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome and thank you for joining Anka and I for our weekly Satsang and meditation. Tonight's program is focused around the guru-disciple relationship. It's one that's very near and dear to our hearts, and I hope to many of you as well. If you're watching the recording, we welcome you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you'll enjoy our weekly satsangs, all recorded there for you, available to you and anyone for free, as well as our healing circles every Tuesday night at 7 and our Thursday morning 10 a.m. Pacific time gentle yoga class with theta healing. That being said, for those of you that are live with me here in Zoom, welcome and thank you for joining us. I will be sharing my desktop on a couple of occasions tonight as we engage in our talk on the guru-disciple relationship. And I do welcome for any of you that are enjoying the recording, if you'd like a copy of the slides, if you'd like a copy of my notes, just say so by posting in the comments section. I'll be happy to email those to you. The guru-disciple relationship is the third step in the 5-step path toward Kriya Yoga. This is the teachings of our Gurudev Paramahansa Yoganandaji. The first step in that 5-step process is all about meditation, the art and science of meditation, what it is, what it isn't. It will take you into a deep dive on energy and magnetism as well, and it lands you squarely into two of the great practices that Gurudev brought to the world, the energization exercises and Hong Sa, an advanced pranayama that is often referred to as baby Kriya. Second level takes you deeply into yoga, the art and science of Raja Yoga. Specifically, it talks about Patanjali's eightfold path, the yamas, the niyamas, the asanas, the pranayams, pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana, and ultimately the eighth is achieving samadhi, the ultimate union of consciousness to the infinite ocean of consciousness from which we came and with which we are never disconnected. The third level is this brief overview. I'll talk to some of the content of it here tonight, the guru-disciple relationship, one of my most exciting topics. You'll learn to understand why perhaps shortly. Fourth level is the preparation for Kriya. It's at that point where you begin to learn some mudras and mantras. Specifically, you'll learn a little bit more about deepening Hong Sa into the spine. It's referred to as Hong Sa in the spine. You'll learn the Om technique and utilizing the Om board as a tool for resting the elbows. So for many, many lengthy periods using the mudra, placed specifically within points within the body, and focusing deeply with the deepest concentration as you withdraw the energy from all the sense instruments and bring them into the spiritual eye. And it's at that point that one can realize one's own internal divinity, where one can literally have that direct personal experience with the God within. And after that fourth level, of course, for those that have qualified and those that have done the work and are ready, then it's the initiation into Kriya, where you're actually given the Kriya technique. This is done typically after a year's worth of study in those 4 levels that I just talked to. Each of them have much study, some reading, some teachings from our guru and our line of gurus, and some great study, but more importantly, the practice. It's very important for one to internalize these teachings, to make them your own. And once you do, they become a part of your life. The way that you breathe, the way that you move about in your day, the way that you think, all of these become shaped in a very personal and a deeply personal way. This is the art of meditation. It is a uniquely personal one. The science, of course, would suggest that by utilizing these techniques in a very specific way, that no matter who you are, where you are, what language you speak, what your background in history might be, what your karma might be, it matters not. All of us will have the same result. And that's the scientific aspect of yoga and meditation in particular. When you apply the technique, you are guaranteed to get the same result. So it's important for us to have the time to not just intellectually understand the techniques, read about the techniques, study the teachings, but more importantly, practice them until they become our own. This is why it takes typically a 1 year period and perhaps even longer, because without that, to be given the technique of Kriya is relatively useless. It's like giving a child a box of matches. It could be more harmful than good. And of course, Kriya is a very powerful technique. It has the capability for moving vast amounts of energy in the body, for purifying the body, for decalcifying the blood, for slowing the heartbeat down to a state of stillness, of breathlessness. All of these phenomena are very, very much a part of the practice of Kriya Yoga. Our cat Katinko has joined us here. He loves the temple. And he's agreeing here. So he's on occasion liable to make a comment or express himself. We welcome that. Right, Katinko? Anka and I spend a fair amount of time in conversation with others, as many of you do as well, I'm sure. And I've noticed one consistent theme. Everyone is seeking happiness and the avoidance of pain. Most come here because they're not totally fulfilled in their life. They don't come here because they're overwhelmed with joy, because they feel that they have achieved all the answers that life offers. Okay, Katinko, you can move over a little bit. It's kind of wet. It's raining outside. Truth is, most come because they're in pain of some kind. Many come because they're seeking some kind of answer, or perhaps guidance, perhaps help, perhaps a tool, a technique, or just maybe an ear to hear them, an empathetic ear, a non-judgmental ear. I notice as we have these conversations, the consistency shows that all of them seek to align their lives with the universal truth, with something greater than the laws of man, greater than the linear pattern and the way in which the mind works, the linearity and relativity of the brain. That every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Yes, this is true. And yes, the physical laws of the universe manifest themselves with regularity in this dimension. We feel the physical body, we begin to identify so much so with it that we think we are these bodies. We think that our body is subject to all the physical maladies of COVID and a cold, heat, the effects of the food that we take in, all of these things, the physical aspects of our existence. Of course, the higher teachings have shown us that there's so much more. So much more so, in fact, that the 5 sense instruments that we use to interact with this physical realm are incapable of intuiting or understanding or even comprehending the higher truths. We are more than these physical bodies. We are energy. We are magnetism. But we're even much more than that. We are saints having human experiences. And sadly, most of our institutional lives, be it our families as we're growing up as children, the schools we go to from elementary on through college, the books that we read, the friends that we interact with, the churches or temples or synagogues that we go to, the corporations that we work within. All of them have an institutional structure that itself is linear. It's self-defining and self-limiting. To be a Catholic is to say you're not a Jew. To be a Californian says you're not a New Yorker. To be a man says you're not a woman. To be healthy means that you're not sick. To be smart means you're not ignorant. To be hungry means you're not full. All of these are dual expressions of one common theme, states of reality. And it's those states of reality that we create ourselves, unknowingly for the most part. I know Anka, in her teaching last night in our healing circle, had said that 85% or more of our behaviors are subconscious. I don't think any of us would have trouble embracing that reality. Our body itself operates on an autonomic nervous system. We don't think about breathing, do we? We don't think about making sure that our heart beats and pumps the blood to feed every cell within our body. It works without our conscious intervention. Unfortunately, at a deeper level, we are controlling it. We just don't realize it. We are creating that high blood pressure if it's manifested for any of you. We do create the heartbeat that's beating faster or slower. We do control the rate at which we breathe, whether it's through our mouth or through our nostrils, whether it's into our chest or from our abdomen. We do create our focus and concentration, whether it's downward, expressed outward into the world through the five sense instruments, or whether it's inward and upward and focused to the state of Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness, the state of divine realization. They call this the spiritual eye because it's through that single eye one can truly see truth, not the two physical eyes, as limited as they are, as wonderful as they are incapable of seeing actual reality. And so it is that in our conversations with others each and every day, we listen empathetically, and we always hear them, well, yes, I can align myself to a higher reality, that God is the doer, that I can realize that my dharma, the truth of why I exist, is driven by something other than my little sense of egoic self. Sadly, the majority of that is expressed as an intellectual understanding, not a true knowing. The truth is, those principles of God being the doer, that all things are created and we are manifesting through conscious free will, a reality in real time, a dance with the universe, if you will, connected to all things simultaneously without regard to locality. These concepts are beyond the brain to understand, beyond the brain's capacity to rationalize. The brain is a linear instrument. It needs a beginning and an end, like all good stories. It can understand birth and death, but it can't begin to comprehend reincarnation, an ongoing stream of birthlessness and deathlessness expressed as consciousness throughout time immemorial, beyond time itself, beyond form itself. It's just not possible. Likewise, it's equally impossible for the brain to rationalize concepts in math such as infinity, such as quantum mechanics, the ability for a state to exist simultaneously in multiple places, in multiple forms. You yourself can exist in multiple forms in multiple places. You may not know that yet. Of course, our consciousness is very limited currently. And we've seen examples of great masters, many that reside on our altar here, that have shown the world that they have mastered the human body, mastered the life force itself, not because they're great men, but because they are in attunement to God. And it's through that attunement that they can express God's will on demand. They can rise the dead back into the living. Lahiri himself had held a wonderful satsang at his home, as he did every evening in Varanasi, and at the same time had a meeting down at the Ganga with one of his great disciples and his guru Babaji and Babaji's sister Mataji. Physical form, two locations simultaneously. And there are many, 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 many great stories that I could recount, some of which I've had direct experience of. Individuals living in a physical form that are not limited to the food that we typically eat for energy. They live on prana. They don't require food or water. Or others who can stop the heart at will, and in the state of breathlessness maintain perfect health. Or others swallow poisons, and the effects of the poison felt by those that were trying to sneak that poison to them as a test. They themselves not feeling those effects at all. These aren't so much miracles. These are realities. The miracle is our own ignorance that keeps us from understanding and in fact experiencing those states of reality at this point in time. The thing that's consistent across all of these conversations is for one to come into grips with the truth that God is the doer, that all things are happening for us to move us beyond the limited state of the human condition, to move us back to the saintly state that is our birthright. That requires more than just individual effort. Because it's the individual effort that is limited to the instruments that we have. The 5 sense instruments, the mind, the brain, all of which, as I've said earlier, themselves impossible to comprehend the nonlinearity of the higher truth of consciousness. And so it is that to truly align oneself with truth, one needs the guide of the guru. It's been said, as our Guru Dev has said before, when asked, but Guru, does one need to have a guru to know God? And he would often say, why, of course. One can't climb the Everest of spiritual consciousness without the aid of one who themselves has accomplished that, who has liberated oneself from all the limitations that restrict one from truly experiencing such exalted states. This is why they're called masters, not in the more Judaic-Christian tradition of slave master. I will follow you anywhere. I will give up all of my free will to you, oh master. I'll give you all my money. All the things, all the stories that many of us have heard about over the years in India itself. Guru translates in the Sanskrit as teacher. In India, to this day, many see guru as just that, a teacher. I myself was referred to as guru countless of times, teaching as I did for years in India and here. And I remind people that I'm not their guru, The true sense of guru is the master of one's own ego, one who has transcended all chakras, rising and cleansing each, removing all self-limiting beliefs, and becoming a pure channel through which divine truth can flow, unrestricted. And like those that Anka and I have these conversations with, I tell them I would be lost without my guru. They say, but you've accomplished so much. I say, the only reason I was able to is I had the support, the guidance, the encouragement, the grace, the protection, the love from the guru. I tell them I'm not a builder of temples. This temple of joy exists because of Gurudev. Yes, I have hands. I live in this dimension physically. I have eyes to see. I can work, earn the money, buy the wood, pay the labor, help to build it, but without his guidance, none of this would be here. Even the money to make it happen wouldn't be here. This is what's missing in most of these individuals' lives when they come to us seeking the answers that they're seeking. The thing that I tell them, and I remind myself of this each and every day, it's not so important to seek the answers. What's more important is to ask the right questions. For if you come to the point where you're asking the right questions, the right answers will reveal themselves to you. The guru-disciple relationship is a very challenging concept, one misunderstood throughout the ages and often malaligned. As I said earlier, most would see it as just a teacher. Many carried the label of guru in India. I remember my first several trips to India many, many years ago, and every street corner would have a guru there who would approach me as a Westerner and tell me how they could help guide me to God, how much they had to offer me, the teachings of India that they could share with me, the healing they could bestow upon my body. And all I had to do was pay them so much money, and I would get all of these great things. The true great men that I've met in India, in Europe, in America, anywhere in the world, never once asked me for anything. They didn't come to me with a handout. That became an acid test for me. Early on in my travels in India, if they came up and asked for anything at all, I knew they were a faker. One who was just putting on the mask and the uniform and the makeup. They had wonderful makeup. They looked just so holy, and they had the robes, and they played the role very well. But just like the institution of religion, it promises you God, but becomes the self-limiting factor that keeps you from seeing or believing or feeling, or in fact having a direct personal relationship with God. The institution became the barrier itself. The guru is there to free you, not limit you. The guru is there to lead you to yourself, to show you that ultimately the guru is you. Ultimately, the guru is you. The greatest barriers that we all face in understanding this begins with the lack of self-love. It's of no surprise that Patanjali, the great sage of India, who brought us the modern understanding of royal yoga, Raja Yoga, some refer to it as Ashtanga, the Sanskrit word for eightfold path, that the first of that eightfold path were the 5 yamas. And one of the most critical there was about self-love. It was a practice that the great sage of India, Mahatma Gandhi, mastered himself as ahimsa, loving thyself, removing all the self-limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. If only, ... fill in the blanks. We all have had these conversations with ourselves, our loved ones, our friends over the ages. We're afraid also that we might lose ourselves. I know this was the big argument that took place in the conversation between Bhagavan Krishna, the manifestation of God, and his great disciple Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when he surveyed across the field of Kurukshetra and were to see all of the Pandavas on one side, all of those that he would consider family, all of those attitudes and emotions and feelings that he held so near and dear to his own heart. And he looked at all of these and said, how can I destroy these? What would be left of me? If I were to destroy everything that I identify with, there would be no me left. I would lose myself. Krishna's great response, of course, was, you can't kill that which never lived. It's all a delusion. Release yourself from this delusion and know the real truth. There's also the feeling that we'll give up something of ourselves and we'll become a slave. That we'll just be blindly following someone else. We'll lose our own sense of identity. And I will tell you, the great quote of Ramakrishna that I always enjoyed was that the soul is individualized spirit. This great saint of India, the great pujari of the Kali temple in Calcutta, where Yogananda had many great spiritual experiences, uniting in form with Divine Mother herself. Ramakrishna was asked by a disciple, so, Guru, what happens when I leave the body? Or is there any part of me that remains? He says, oh yes. In the astral realm, you carry with you the vibration that you brought into that physical form. That vibration is never lost. It's just no longer identified with the physical forms of the body that you currently possess. But you will definitely remain as an individualized spirit in the ocean of spirit. So it is that we don't become slaves and we don't lose our identity. We actually create our true identity. The thing that we've been asked time and again in these conversations with so many, how do I find myself, my true nature? Well, stop asking the questions that are giving you the wrong answers. Seek the guide of the Guru. There were many I used to talk about years ago on this particular topic that felt that the Guru would invade their privacy. He knows all. They're too embarrassed because the thoughts that we all have include the highest exalted thoughts possible of any great saint, and also the darkest. You see, we're no different than anyone else. Heaven and hell coexist. We are all angels and we're all devils. The question isn't that. The question is, who do you choose to be at any given time? What kind of vibration do you choose to resonate out into the universe? Light or dark? You possess them both in equal measure. Our thoughts are an open book. I don't worry about privacy in Zoom or here or my emails or whatever I do. I truly don't. I don't have anything to hide, because who matters the most to me is the divine Lord, and he knows me better than I know myself. There isn't a thought or an act that I could do that he doesn't already know about long before I've done it. What is there to hide? On the contrary, I'm asking him, what should I do? You know me. What is the next step that will lead me to the highest outcome that serves me for where I exist currently in my understandings? And he'll give me that answer. I've learned to ask those right questions. And more importantly, I've learned to open my ears to hear the response. In essence, I've gone beyond the weakness of my own human limitation. I've grown courageous, fearless in facing my weakest links within myself, my past, and quite frankly, only those in this incarnation, and many of which I don't even remember. How could I remember the other million incarnations I've had to bring me to the state of human consciousness? Impossible. How can I know myself? God knows me. My guru is my channel to that divine truth. He knows me. To him, I give everything, and from him, I receive all. It's through my guru that I can develop my highest potential, my own individualized spirit, my soul. In the highest way. This is why Anka in the Theta Healing is constantly asking for permission. Is it okay to align your truth to the highest truth of the divine creator? And of course, most will say yes. But are they really understanding what that means? Most, in my experience, quite frankly, even after having had that experience or that conversation with them, and I had one today with a great soul, and right after having the conversation, they're right back into identifying with their own sense of self-definitions. But I can do this, and I've done that. And 6 years ago, I was this, and I was doing this, and now none of it's happening. What's going on? And I said, well, you didn't do any of those things. Would you like to align your life to a truth? Would you like to learn how to listen to the answer? Can you, in fact, be courageous enough to learn to ask the right questions? And the question of what's going on is clearly not the right question to ask, is it? In the Bible, it said, as many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. And that speaks directly to the guru-disciple relationship, because it's saying that if you will receive that guidance from the Creator in your own way, in your own language, in your own process, it doesn't matter. There are countless. Jesus was a great guru. I would probably be a great Christian to this day had my experience at Catholic school at St. Paul of the Cross been one in which it would have brought me closer to Jesus, not tried to block my view of him. What a great guru. And how many other great, exalted, liberated beings have there been who come into the physical form to show us the way that we can live in the physical body with the grace of the divine's guidance. But to embrace the guru-disciple relationship requires so much more than the mere desire for truth. It requires a willingness and a readiness. a willingness to become free of one's own self-limiting beliefs, a willingness to introspect with absolute truth and transparency, to not try to hide the limitations or bolster the strengths, but in an unattached way, just be. The quote is, "When the disciple is ready, the guru appears." And it actually speaks to what I had mentioned previously, that the guru is you. And when you are ready to become the exalted self, the big S of soul, not the little s of the individualized egoic self, the little institutionalized self that is made up of many bundles of self-definition, of, as our great teacher and friend Swami Kriyananda often referred to it. But as we shed all of those layers and start relating to our true sense of self, we become closer to God and to our own soul. There are a few points that I'd learned of great value that are derived through the guru-disciple relationship. I'll point out 7 of them, analogous somewhat to the 7 chakras. It magnetizes our energy. Whenever I sit to meditate, I always begin with a prayer. And I ask Divine Mother, join me in my meditation. Help me to go deep. Help me to feel my oneness with Thee. I begin that conversation with earnest, with gratitude, with devotion. It helps to magnetize my spine in this north-south polarized direction, because my spine is polarized. The base at the Muladhara is a negatively charged. The 7th chakra is the positive pole. And I want to move the prana or life force from the south to the north. And that's in a reverse direction than the lower forms of consciousness, where we move the energy down the spine and out through the trunk of the nervous system, expressed through the 5 sense instruments to interact with the physical world. So magnetizing my spine helps to align my energy to the divine energy. The guru is my most personalized relationship that I have, closer to me than my partner Anka, my children, my grandchildren, even myself. The guru is my father, my mother, my friend, my wisdom, my wealth, my all. The guru does not have an institutional limitation, a brand, or any barrier. It's not limited to a temple, a mosque, a church, a policy, a practice, a protocol. The guru enables me a single-pointed focus on an individualized path that has so much enriched my life and accelerated that life toward my own self-realization beyond my wildest imagination. Most are reading many books. The individual I'd met with today, sharing with me all the great works that he's read, all the books that he's studied, all the practices that he has, all the things he offers clients, all these different things. And I was growing confused just trying to keep track of all those. And like that, for many years, I was reading books on Buddha, spending time in the monastery in China, chanting with the monks. I spent time in Tibet, Nepal, India, Indonesia, China, reading great works of great saints of all religions, and each one seemed to resonate for me in some way. But I liken it to the realization that there are many beginnings. And so you have infinite choice where one wants to begin. There's only one end, and we all go there. We will all be there together someday. Giving me that single-pointed clarity on this particular path with Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, narrowed my focus, and in doing so accelerated my process beyond my wildest imagination. I still quote from various other great masters. I still pick up a book now and then. I still appreciate the other points of view, but I listen to the voice of my Guru only. You know, in the world of energy, it requires transformers. You know, we cannot take the massive energy that comes through the power lines that hang on our streets in the poles, and they have a line that comes across to feed a certain amperage, a current at a certain voltage to power our lights and our washers and dryers and heaters in our lives. We have to use transformers. We have to step up or step down to accommodate the current that is required for a particular application. Anka and I are working on a spa right now for the meditation garden. And we just this last week ran a 50 amp circuit. It's a big current, big wire, offering 220 volts to run this particular appliance. Now, if we were to try to put a plug into that and run a 60-watt lamp, boom, it would explode. Way too much power. Likewise, if we tried to plug in our soon-to-be beautiful spa into a regular house outlet at 20 amp, 120 volt, it wouldn't do much at all. So we have to step up and step down the source of energy. And so it is that the Guru acts as our transformer for us. Even in my Kriya, as I do Kriya, I will find sometimes when the energy is so intense, I will literally feel my body begin to heat up. Maybe you've had this experience yourself, for those of you that have practiced Kriya. I know it's been said that Lahiri would be in his highest state of Kriya, his advanced Kriyas, and he would be sweating profusely. Just the physical form, incapable of holding that amount of current of energy and expressing it in this sweat that would just pour off his body. I myself have had those similar experiences. There are times when I just couldn't feel that I was ready to hold the level of energy and current that the Kriya practice could do for me. And so I would ask Gurudev to do the Kriyas for me. And he would. He acts as my transformer to control the power of God to flow into my life at exactly the right time in exactly the right amount. I don't even know how that works. My mind is incapable of understanding how that works, but my Guru does. A true master has overcome the self-limiting beliefs, the attachments, all of the past karma and samskars that each of us find to be so self-limiting. And so he is most qualified to help us do the same. He knows what it's like to scale the Everest of spiritual consciousness because he lives there. He knows how to help us to adjust our breathing so we can live on such high altitudes, environments that would otherwise not even sustain the human existence. And we could live in those environments freely. He offers us the tools and the techniques in such a way that we can receive them. He knows where our ears are at any given time and what kind of ear we have to hear. He knows how to deliver to us a technique or a tool in such a way that we can receive it where we happen to be at that given time. And he helps us to become a channel for others, to help others in their spiritual path and in their growth, because it's not enough for any of us individually to scale the peaks of spiritual Everest alone. You know, Jesus had given us his 2 primary commandments, and I know there were 10, but there were 2 that were the fundamental rules. Love thyself, we talked about ahimsa, and love thy neighbor as thyself, because they are. We are all one. And when our love enfolds everyone, the entire universe and beyond, then we become divine in our own right. Jai Gurudev. Namaste to all. And so we'll do a quick chant. Lord, I am thine. And we'll take that into our short meditation tonight before we close. So please join me in chanting out loud where you happen to be, having your microphones muted, of course. And if you don't know the words, you'll quickly learn them because they're repeated over and over again. Lord, I am thine, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. I am thine, I am thine. We'll repeat that. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine, I am thine. Lord, I am thine, I am thine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. I am thine, I am thine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou mine. Be thou mine, oh, be thou I am thine, I am thine. I am thine, be thou mine. So we'll sit up and lengthen our spines and ready the physical body for a short meditation together. If you're seated on the chair, have your feet flat on the floor without crossing your legs. Always important in meditation to lengthen the spine, the channel through which the life force flows freely, and to the extent that we have no kinks and we keep it level, the energy can move more freely from the lower chakras up all the way, focusing always to the point between the eyebrows, with the chin level with the floor, but lifting the gaze slightly to elevate our view to our own divine nature. And let's begin by bringing our hands in pranam. And join me in this prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, Lord Jesus Christ, Bhagavan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, and beloved Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, we humbly bow before you. Divine Mother, join us in our meditation, that we may feel our oneness with Thee. Help us to remember that Thou and I are never apart. Om Shanti Shanti. Amen. Now, resting the hands at the junction of thigh and abdomen, I like to keep my palms up in a show of receptivity. Shoulders rolling back gently, opening the chest, expanding the heart. Chin level with the floor and the gaze uplifted, always focused at the point between the eyebrows. And so for the next 10 minutes, just enjoy a silent meditation. If you have a technique, practice it. If not, with each inhalation breath, drawing from the abdomen up through the heart, the throat, up to the point between the eyebrows. You might chant, Lord, I am thine. And as you exhale, be thou mine. Lord, I am thine. Be thou mine. And with devotion and an open heart, and chanting that for the next few minutes silently as you inhale, the gaze uplifted. And then for the remaining couple of minutes of your meditation, release all technique and listen for God's answer. It will come. We'll now release any techniques that we may be utilizing in our meditation and allow the next couple of minutes to just be in stillness and silence and feel the presence of the divine within, and with an open heart and filled with gratitude, receive the grace that He wishes to bestow upon you at this time. While remaining in a meditative state and the gaze uplifted, begin to share this grace that you've generated in this meditation experience, and use it for the benefit of those in your life in need of health and wellness or happiness, or whatever their needs might be. Visualize those in your life at the point between the eyebrows and see them surrounded with your white healing light, happy, joyful. And with that vision at the point between the eyebrows, join me with the hands in pranam over the heart for this healing prayer. Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Thou art omnipresent.
Thou art omnipresent.
Thou art in all Thy children.
Thou art in all Thy children.
Manifest Thy healing presence
Manifest Thy healing presence
in their bodies, minds, and souls.
in their bodies, minds, and souls.
Rubbing the hands together, activating your energy to send it out to those in need in your life. On the waves of 3 ohms for healthy bodies. Om. For clear minds. Om. And for divinely awakened souls. Om. And on one final wave of Om, send out love and light to all living beings on this planet, that they too may find their own inner joy. Om. join me in our closing prayer. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly
Mother,
Mother,
Friend,
Friend,
beloved God,
Beloved God,
great masters of self-realization,
Great Masters of Self-Realization,
saints and sages of all religions,
Saints and Sages of all religions,
humbly we bow at your feet.
humbly we bow at your feet.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
beloved Gurudev,
Beloved Gurudev,
may your love
may your love
shine forever
shine forever
on the sanctuary of our devotion,
in the sanctuary of our devotion.
and may we be able
May we be able
to awaken that love
to awaken that love
in hearts everywhere.
in hearts everywhere.
Om Shanti,
Shanti.
Shanti. Amen. Namaste.
Namaste.
May we all carry this love and light throughout our day, throughout our week, throughout our lives, and sharing that vibration of uplifting energy with all whom we meet, and fulfill our true life's purpose. Thank you again for watching the recording, for those that have, and feel free to subscribe to our channel. Watch the other videos available for you that bring an uplifting energy into your life. Share them with others freely, and join us each week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, for our healing circle. Anka leading us with the gift of theta healing. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. for our satsang meditation, and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific time for our gentle yoga practice with theta healing. Thank you again for joining us, and God bless you.